Hello everyone, how are you guys doing today? So I just want to come over here and share with you guys some news that you probably might not have heard because it's not being covered by the mainstream media. But I just want to share with you an important article about a Chinese poacher who is going to get 15 years in jail for poaching a bunch of African bush elephants and possibly forest elephants for ivory production in China. So the title of this article says, Chinese Ivory Queen sentenced to 15 years in jail in Tanzania. A convicted Chinese trafficker, known as the Ivory Queen, has been sentenced to 15 years in jail by a Tanzanian court. Yang Feng Lan, who has lived in Tanzania on and off for decades. See, these chinks, they shouldn't be in Africa, because like what me and others have been saying before, they are not in Africa for good intentions. All right, and operated a Chinese restaurant, was found guilty of working with two Tanzanian men to smuggle more than 800 pieces of ivory between 2000 and 2004. So, this has been going on for a long time. And this isn't the first time I'm hearing of a Chinese restaurant being open in Tanzania. I've also heard of an article back in 2015, news back in 2015, of these chinks who opened up a Chinese restaurant in Nairobi, Kenya, and they did not allow locals into the restaurants because they feared that they might be part of a terrorist group. And when law enforcement broke into the restaurant, guess what they found inside the restaurant? A brothel with a bunch of dog meat. So these chinks in Africa, these slanted eye gooks in Africa, man, they really are not cooking up something good. All right, they want to recolonize Africa and do the same dirty work like what the Europeans did. Yang and the men, Salvius Matembo and Manassi Philemon, were convinced of leading an organized criminal gang, according to the wire service. They have denied the accusations. She was initially arrested in 2015 following what the BBC termed a high-speed car chase with Tanzanian authorities. Investigators say Yang was a key link between poachers in East Africa and buyers in China for more than a decade, the broadcaster reported. So these chinks, they do not care about the people in Africa, and they do not care about the exotic animals, many of which are endangered, that live in Africa. Alright, they only care about extracting all the resources from Africa and killing a bunch of animals for their medicine, because they have these weird beliefs that monkey brains and rhino horns bring good life. This is just some of the weird beliefs that the Chinese think. China has been a major driver of demand of ivory, which has been disastrous for Africa's elephants. A recent major census of the African elephant population found that it had decreased by nearly a third between 2007 and 2014. China started banning the domestic sale of ivory in 2018 after pressure from environmental groups. This particular case was viewed as a major test of Africa-wide efforts to hold key trafficking figures accountable for the mass killing of elephants to supply ivory to illegal markets, including China, as the Associated Press reported. Wildlife conservation groups largely praised the sentencing. The government is taking wildlife trafficking very seriously, and an attack on Tanzania's wildlife is seen as an attack on Tanzania, said Christy Clark. Yeah, because The Chinese who go to many of these African countries, they don't give a damn about the African people. All right, they're exploiting African people, and they are also abusing the people within the motherland. So these chinks don't care about nothing of the African people or the animals that live there, except to, like I said, do the dirty work of the Europeans. The executive director of the PAMS Foundation, a group focused on Tanzania. Congratulations, Tanzania. But something didn't go far enough. And after I'm done with this article, I will give you my take on this, alright? On her sentence, because I don't think 15 years is not enough, alright? I think it should be much harsher than that, and I will explain that towards the end of this video as I wrap up. It is not punishment enough for the atrocities she committed. By being responsible for the poaching of thousands of elephants in Tanzania, WWF country director Amani Nugusaru told Reuters. She ran a network that killed thousands of elephants. Prior to her arrest, the Chinese Daily ran a profile of Yang, saying she started studying Swahili in college in the 1960s and later worked as a translator for Chinese experts working on the construction of the Tanzania-Zambia Railway. You African people in the motherland, this is really scary stuff, alright? These chinks, they want to learn many different African languages so that they know and they can understand you clearly when you start to plan a rebel against them so that they can get back at you. This is really scary stuff, and you really need to stop allowing these chinks to go to the motherland and operate there, okay? You are the indigenous people of the motherland. You should be running your stuff there instead of letting these slanted-eyed chinks and other nations of people rule over you. She eventually opened a restaurant and ran an investment company on the floor above it. I was not and still not a typical businesswoman, she told the newspaper, touting her role helping Chinese companies pursuing business in China. I know I should have retired, but whenever I think that my language advantage and network can help many Chinese and Tanzanians, yeah, right, saying that she's helping Tanzanians, no she's not, and increase mutual trust and confidence, I do not want to stop. As Reuters reported, Yang is expected to serve her sentence at the Okonga prison in Dar es Salaam. Okay, so before I give my take on this article, I just want to give you guys a history of elephants. If you travel back in Earth's past, there were different diverse species of elephants, many of which are unique. You have some elephants that were really small and lived exclusively near bodies of water that connect to the sea. You had elephants that had rhino-like horns in front of their faces. This particular species of elephant is called Arsinotherium. It's extinct now. It lived for 37 million years in what is known now as the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert during that time was a series of mangrove swamps and rainforests that connected to the sea, inhabited by primitive whales. But now, the Sahara Desert, as we see, is now completely covered by deserts and has become one of, ironically, the most driest places on Earth. You have elephants that had tusks underneath their chins. And you had elephants that had tusks near their mouths, their tongues, and these elephants were widespread all over the world, not just Africa. They were widespread in North, South America, and in Europe. And of course, you had, if you travel back fairly recently, you had the woolly mammoth with its shaggy coat. It lived in Europe and some of the Arctic regions during the last ice age in the Pleistocene era, but they became extinct when the Neanderthals were over hunting them for their meat. So now, the only species of elephants that are left in the world are only two remaining. One which lives in Africa, and the other one which lives in Asia, which is the Asian elephant. But I'm going to focus specifically on the African elephant because, like many other endangered species in Africa, the African elephant is being poached for its tusk to be used in ivory making in China. Now, the rhinoceros is also being poached for their horns to be used in Chinese medicine, because these Chinese think that these animals, their horns and tusk, and their bones, the Chinese are also going to many parts of Asia to hunt down tigers for their bones, because they think that tiger bones, elephant tusk, rhino horns, and monkey brains promote long, healthy life. That's just one of their weird beliefs. So yeah, they're going to the motherland, poaching these animals to extinction. You know, the Rothschilds, the media, likes to blame climate change for the causes of these animals' demise, but really, it's China who is the main contributor of climate change, because it is a very polluted and overpopulated country, and no matter how much laws they're putting into place to prevent overpopulation, you know, they're still building up too many infrastructures around the country. Now they're building up too much infrastructures in Africa, while at the same time mistreating the African people there and exploiting them. You see, the people in the motherland, you people in the motherland, you really have to get together, and you have to prevent these chinks from going into your country and controlling over you, because Africa belongs to you, and the rest of the world also belong to you, because you are the indigenous people of this planet and the original humans of this planet. So you need to say enough is enough, and you need to prevent these chinks from going to your country and starting their shit, starting shit on your land. All right. You see, the society always demonizes black people and say they're the most violent. But you see, the reason why the Chinese do what they do today is because they're also of the father devil, alright? They also have that Neanderthal DNA, and they also came from the Caucasus Mountains, alright? Which is why they're doing the most, the atrocities, the atrocious stuff that they're doing right now. Melanated people don't do this because they're not of their father devil. Even if they were in higher power, they would never do this, alright? The ancient Egyptians, they were the most prosperous civilizations to rule the world, yet they didn't go around hunting animals for fun. In fact, they were big on animal worship. They worshiped many animal Egyptian gods. So, black people, melanated people, Africans, they would never do stuff like this. Of course, you have Africans poaching these animals, because you have to remember that they work for the Chinese, and the Chinese view them as slaves, alright? You have to understand that the Chinese are trying to recolonize Africa and do what the Europeans did. So, in my opinion, I think that this slanted-eyed chink deserves the death penalty. 15 years of prison isn't enough for her, in my opinion. I think she deserves the death penalty because killing an animal is no different than killing a human. Alright, animals have emotions too. And many of the animals you eat, chickens, cows, and pigs, they know when they're going to be killed in the slaughterhouse, alright? Which is why I chose to be a vegetarian, because I always thought that it was gross eating chickens, cows, pigs, and other land animal. So this is my whole take on this situation. Again, I think that she deserves a much harsher penalty, which is the death penalty. I don't think she should be allowed to live, and I think that the Chinese really need to be banned from the continent of Africa, as well as these other nations of people. I don't think anyone with anyone who does not have good intentions should be allowed to go into Africa. So, yeah, this is my take on this whole thing. I hope you continue to stay tuned and stay up to date with all the things that's happening around you. Because as you see, the devil is at work, the devil is not at rest, and the devil is busy causing calamities all over the planet. Alright, I hope you guys stay safe, and shalom.